You're live.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the Sabi Sands. Currently, I've just got back into the driver's seat. VM is just over there, you'll notice, and we've got a flat tire just after we left camp, and Brent's vehicle is currently having some technical issues. It's just a wire cable or cable that broke, so Alex and Brian and Brent are busy fixing that problem. We've busy just finished fixing this problem, and now we can continue on the morning. So just a little bit of an abnormal start, but we are going to have to head back very slowly towards the workshop in order to drop off our spare tire, which we need to get fixed. Let me just see how bad this tire is that we've just put on.
The camera, VM, no problem.
Okay. And I need to plug in the final control radio, which I had unplugged so they could chat to us while we were changing the tire. So, all quite of an interesting start. We've got a whole checklist of things we go through to make sure everything is in working order, and in just a few minutes after we had gone through our checklist, this tire went flat, and our spare tire, which we've put on, is also evidently flat. So we probably can't move too far from here because the tire we've just put on is actually no good to us. Which means it's a great time for me to let you know exactly what our plans were for this morning and what they will continue to be just after a slight delay. Brent is going to go up and check the northern half of the property, and VM and myself will be heading to the southern half of the property. Our initial plan was to head to the hyena den site. I popped in there yesterday morning and it wasn't active, so it will be good to keep a tab on what they've been up to. The hyena are such awesome animals, and the fact that they do have a den site on our property is a huge benefit for us, because many of the game viewing areas that you may work in may not have a hyena den site, and it's one of the best places to view hyena on Philemon's Dip. And Brent is going to eventually be following up on the Kahuma Pride of Lion, which were in the northeastern corner of our property around Buffalo's Hook Dam. But he's going to take a very specific route to get there, and he's going to head up our western boundary onto our northern boundary and then travel east along our northern boundary just to make sure no animals have come in or left our property, and that will be en route to the Nkuhuma Lion. So rather than heading straight there, he would rather try and gather a little bit of intelligence along the way. The Nkuhuma Pride could well have moved off. They finished their hippo kill last night, and it will be interesting to see whether they are still there relaxing. They could be at Buffalo's Hook Dam, or whether they've moved off, and if they have moved off, where they've moved off to. Now, in the meantime, because we are going to have to take this tire off, I might as well show you a little bit of how our equipment works out here. There's a jack called a high lift jack, or up in East Africa they're known as Tanganyika jacks, and it's quite a dangerous piece of equipment but a very useful piece of equipment. So let me show you. One thing that's very important to check before jacking up a car is the handbrake, and to ensure that the car is in gear. So this is the high level jack, and it's an incredible piece of machinery that makes jacking up a car very easy. However, it is dangerous because there's a huge amount of pressure that rests on all these joints, and if it was to slip, which it occasionally can, I will show you what happens, and we want to try and avoid that at all costs. Okay, I'm going to try my best to make it as level as possible before jacking the vehicle up. That way there's no risk of with added pressure and height as the vehicle comes forward, that it would tip off the jack. Okay, now as I push down, the mechanism crawls up this bar, carrying the vehicle up. You can then change the settings to bring it down, but each time the vehicle goes higher up, there's more and more pressure resting on this pole. Now it's very important, you'll notice I'm standing to the side of the pole. If you stand in the firing line of where this pole can hit, if it was to slip, this pole will trigger backwards and forwards at an immense rate, and if it was to hit you on the head, it could kill you. So that's why I'm standing off to the side. If it was to start shaking uncontrollably, I wouldn't be in the firing line. One more should do it. And I can hear our support vehicle on the way. So we should have help very shortly. Now in the excitement, I've actually skipped a level, and I should have loosened the bolts on the tire before lifting it up off the ground, but that shouldn't be too much of a problem. And it's Brent who's come to rescue us, so you'll shortly be able to say good morning to him. So I'm taking you on a bit of a high-level jack joyride here. Like I said, I forgot to loosen.
Morning, 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 everyone.
Hello, Brent.
Here we go. There's your spare.
Thank you. Welcome.
Hopefully we'll have the jigger up and running in the next 5-6 minutes.
How's the cable repair coming along?
It's getting on. Alex is working his technical magic.
Okay, good.
But I'll see you guys just now.
Cool, thank you very much.
Bye.
Could you take the other one back with you, please? Thanks. So again, folks, a huge apologies for this, but it is part of the safari adventure, and it is a reality to get a flat tire out here. Now, one thing that you all do need to know is that with all the lion sightings we've been having, we've been driving over lots of lion dung, and it stinks. And there's so much of it built up around the wheel mounting that every time I put my head down there, it's not a very pleasant experience. Anyway, I'm more than happy to have to deal with this, because it's one of the realities of spending time with lions. You occasionally drive over their poop, and then your car stinks for weeks. Liam and I had rushed as fast as we could. We were like a Formula 1 pit team to try and get the tire changed before we went live. And Liam was just finishing off the final nuts and bolts, tightening them, when we realized that our spare tire indeed also had a slow puncture. So we were in a frantic rush a bit earlier to fix it, and we did. But sadly, the tire we put on was a dud. Now I think I'm willing to take a chance here and bet with you that due to the fact that we've been delayed ever so slightly this morning, it's going to pay off, and it's going to mean we're going to be in the right place at the right time to find a leopard crossing the road, elephants mating, who knows. But it's often these funny little hiccups that often set your timing right and get you into the right place at the right time. So let's hope that that is the case today. Okay, just one more bolt that I need to loosen, and then I'll jack you all back up again and put the new tire on, and then we are heading straight to the hyena den. Well, we might be heading to some elephant earlier. That's also one of the benefits. Oh, quickly, VM, look at this. It's a fish eagle flying away with the fish that it's just caught. I think it's a fish, or is it a bird? I can't tell. But that's an African fish eagle, and already a good example of how just sitting in one place you can get spoiled. So what did you think it was, VM? A bird?
It looked like a bird.
Interesting. Obviously I couldn't get my binoculars up to it, but for those of you who are watching on big screens, I'm sure you may know exactly what it was that the fish eagle had caught. Even though they will feed predominantly on fish, it's not the only prey they'll eat. I've seen them catching flamingos before in East Africa, which was an unlikely prey item, I thought, and an incredible spectacle to witness the beautiful African fish eagle catching a flamingo. It's not something that I ever thought I would see happening. Okay, the dud is off. Again, I do need to be careful now. While I am under the vehicle, any could think it's slip and slide, so I want to make sure I don't get crushed. Okay, all good. So before the fish eagle flew past, we heard some elephants trumpeting not far away, so there's a strong chance we'll see those ellies before we get to the hyena den site. So that's again good prospects, and again a good lesson. Sitting and listening can often be so useful when trying to find animals. Oh, the lion dung is absolutely horrifying. It stinks. Another thing that we've heard while we've been waiting here are the ground hornbills calling. Now, for those of you who were on yesterday afternoon's drive, you may remember seeing a few brief glimpses of some ground hornbills, and they're very rare birds that we don't see very often. They've also got a very beautiful call, and they are in the area of the hyena den site, so we might get to see them as well. Okay, we can now lower down the jack so that the tire has pressure and doesn't just spin. When I loosen the bolts, or tighten the bolts rather. Okay. Good. 30 seconds, folks, and we will be gone.
Okay, so is there no one giving an update about the color or anything? I don't know. I'm still heading up. I'm still should have had like I think I would off past the central road.
Okay. Worked up a little bit of a sweat. It's a nice cool morning, not as cold as it's been the other mornings. That's not usually where it lives. We usually bolt it onto the hood, but because we're in a rush, we will put it there. I'm going to put the spare tire behind us so Alex can come and fetch it when he's finished helping Brent fix the broken cable. That way he can get the spare tire fixed, and then we are good to go. Well, huge apologies for that, but now the show continues. Thanks, VM.
Scott.
Woo. I've got a few little beads of sweat on my forehead, and as we start driving it's instantaneously a little bit chilly, so you'll probably find once I have cooled down I will be putting my little jumper back on. Also a pleasant relief to be out of the tyre arch that's been splattered with lion dung. To let you know exactly what the temperature is, it is 16 degrees Celsius, and I think that's 64 degrees Fahrenheit, so in the 60s Fahrenheit. So not very cold, but nippy, especially for what we're used to. Yesterday afternoon it was 31 degrees Fahrenheit, which I think is in the, or 31 degrees Celsius, which is in the 80s Fahrenheit. It was a very hot afternoon. And the elephants that we heard trumpeting when we were changing the tire were somewhere up ahead of us here. And while we are moving into that area, I'm going to be checking this road very carefully for any tracks of animals that may have passed here last night. The animals that we spend the most time tracking are no doubtedly leopard and lion, and the reason for that is that they are the most difficult to track down and find. Occasionally, from time to time, we will also track elephants if we do come across fresh tracks and we haven't seen elephants for a while. And interestingly enough, the guides in the Sabi Sands have even become master zebra and giraffe trackers, because there's not many zebra and giraffe in this area of the Kruger National Park. There's a little and let's just see what it gets up to. It's very well camouflaged at the moment in amongst those yellow leaves with its yellow beak. And on cue it jumped out of shot. I'm sure it will continue to hop around. A very different looking bird to the ground hornbill, which we hope to show you sometime this morning. The ground hornbill, as its name suggests, spends a lot of time on the ground, whereas the yellow-billed hornbill, like most of the other hornbills in this area, are very good flyers, and they do also spend a lot of time hunting on the floor, but they certainly aren't as cumbersome and bulky when it comes to flying as their cousin, the ground hornbill. For any of you who may be new to the show, it's important to realize that this is a live experience, and that's probably why you get to see things like tires being changed, because there's no way around it really. And if you would like to ask us questions at any stage, you're more than welcome to do that, and you would hashtag Safari Live on Twitter or send an email through to questions@wildearth.tv. And please send your questions through. It really does help us tailor-make this safari to things that are interested to you, the viewers, and it's no different to being on a safari with 6 guests on the back of your vehicle. As they ask more questions and show you their channels of interest, it helps us in catering for the individual's needs on safari. And everyone does have different hopes and aspirations when on safari. Some people like birds and butterflies, and other people only like the big cats. So by getting your inputs and questions, we've got a much better idea of which alley to take and how best to try and show you all a good time. Well, great news, folks. Alex, our technical genius imported from Russia, has managed to fix the problem with Brent's cables, and Brent's up and running and would like to say good morning to you officially from his vehicle. We'll catch up with you a little bit later.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome on this sunrise safari. It's been quite an interesting morning so far. Fortunately, Alex's technical genius has managed to sort out our problem. It's just one little wire that's come loose, and obviously that type of stuff happens out here when we're going through the bush. But fortunately, it wasn't a major issue, and we've managed to fix it. So to let you know what I'm up to this morning, I'm heading down to the northwest corner of the property, and we're going to start moving through down our whole northern boundary. I'm really interested to find out what's happening with those 2 sticks male lions. I found their tracks where they crossed. That is very far from where they normally are, so it could be very interesting to see if they've come back. Also, that male leopard we sat waiting for last night, he might have crossed in that area, so we're going to go check for his tracks as well. And also just go follow up on the Nkuhuma Pride around Buffelshoek Dam. For those of you who might be new, we are live in the African bush, so what I'm seeing, you're seeing at the exact same time. Also, we are interactive. We're able to take questions about what we're seeing on Game Drive, and you can send us questions by using the email address questions@wildearth.tv, or if you're on Twitter, just use the hashtag Safari Live. So it's been a bit of a slow start for us, so we're really excited to get out there and go find some animals. So off we go. Up the main access road towards that northwestern corner, checking carefully for tracks. So far there's been quite a lot of hyena tracks, but nothing else. So I did hear lions early this morning at about 4:45. They were quite far to the south of us in the area. Scotty's checking, so hopefully you find some tracks down there. Possibly the Matimba males, but again, at the moment with all these line dynamics going on between the males, it's very difficult to say for sure. There's a couple of important spots we want to check on this road. There's some really big elephant paths that move through here, and the leopards like to use those and the lions as sort of highways through an area. Hyena. So we've got quite an overcast morning. This big cloud bank rolled in from the east, sort of at about 5:45 this morning, making our tracking lights a little bit difficult, but don't worry, I'm confident I should be able to see the tracks even in this low light. Lots of hyena tracks up and down. There's one of these big elephant paths I was talking about. You can see it there going through the bush. There's no tracks coming off in this particular one, so we'll check the next one. Ah, it's male and Nyala. Trying to see where we can get the best view. Good, even though we've been moving for a little bit, to stop and listen, and we might hear alarm calls or even like lions roaring. I love their orange socks. So there's two of them here. They're not in competition, it doesn't seem. You quite often will find male and Nyala together. They are non-territorial species. The only time they really do sort of get into competition is if there is a female in estrus. They've developed some really interesting adaptations over the course of their evolution, and the males look so different from the females. The dark chocolate brown with that big white crest on the back, whereas the females are sort of that burnt amber orange. They share the same stripes, and one of the reasons that this has developed this big sexual dimorphism between the two species is, between the two individuals of the same species, is because of how the males interact with each other. So they'll try to avoid physical fighting and locking of horns, but they do on very rare occasions. I think I've seen it maybe 6 or 7 times in my life. Normally they will sort of have a walk-off. They'll see who's prettier. So they'll stand opposite each other, legs erect, and that white mane that goes along their back stands upright, and they stand very stiff, and they sort of parade around each other, and who's ever the prettiest wins. And the one way to tell who is the winner in those, and just keep a lookout for it, the reason to look out for it is the winner will always put his tail up and show that really fluffy white underside of the tail. So even though you see his head's down in the grass, he's not eating grass. He's eating small bushes in the grass. He is a browser, and what that means is he generally only eats the leaves of bushes and trees. So even though it looks like he might be eating grass, he's not. He's eating the small bushes that are growing within the grass. Okay, well, we'll leave those two gentlemen to their morning of feeding, and we're going to continue on to see if we can find any tracks. Standing by?
Yeah, it's really, I just need this
Sorry, go again? Copy, confirm the Ngala have moved off. Okay, copy. I'm very interested in that position. I'm going to be making my way towards the boundary and to that position now. Thanks very much, Billy. Sorry guys, just an update from one of the other guides there. We were heading in that general area. We're going to go a little bit quicker to that area now. It's that area where the Kahuma Pride have had that hippo carcass for the last few days. Apparently there's quite a lot of hyena activity, no lions. So it could be quite interesting to go have a look. So I'm going to get across onto Sandy Patch and try to get onto the boundary and head east as a little bit quicker than we normally would, because it is possible that that type of interaction and the hyenas there, because there's very little of the carcass left, they might leave quite quickly. So bear with me if I'm going a little bit faster than usual. Also, just occasionally right at the end of this road, we do sometimes get a little bit of signal breakup, but it is the quickest way for us to get to that sighting, which could be potentially a very interesting sighting to watch the hyenas. So off we go. Scott, come in. I don't know if you heard that update. There's quite a lot of Nisi activity around Buffalo Dam, so I'm going to be making my way into that area. Copy that, perfect. I'm just arriving at the hyena there. So you can see if they
members from this den that are there.
Copy, thanks very much. I'll let everyone know. So guys, Scott's is on his way to the hyena den. So we're gonna cross across to Scotty so we can actually see where the hyenas are at the den while I make my way towards the hyenas, because that could tell us whether it's the same clan that have moved to Buffelshoek Dam. So really interesting times ahead. So we're gonna cross across to Scotty.
Welcome back everyone, and really interesting stuff going on this morning. As you're all aware, Brent got the updates on the radio that there's a lot of hyena activity at Buffelshoek Dam, and that's no surprise really. They'll be fighting over the scraps of that hippo carcass. We decided to come to the hyena den, and as you can see, there's nobody home. Now, we could guess that the hyena are possibly at Buffelshoek Dam. It'll be really interesting to note whether any of the individuals from this den sites are there. There is one hyena that's got a very characteristic notch out of its left ear, so that could be one to look out for at Buffelshoek Dam. And this den site's probably 4 to 5 miles away from Buffelshoek Dam. It's not a big distance in terms of hyena and what they are capable of traveling, so I wouldn't be hugely surprised if they've read into the signs of the wild and heard the commotion of possibly even other hyena clans in that area. So really exciting stuff, and I'm sure Brent is getting across there as fast as he can. But a really interesting question through from Maggie in Vancouver. Good morning, Maggie, and thanks very much for sending your question through. We were discussing yesterday in a fair amount of depth the sexual appendages of male and female hyena and how they can look, well, how they do look very, very similar, and it therefore makes it difficult for us to distinguish male from female. Now, Maggie's done some more research, and she shared this research with all of us, which is so wonderful, and that's the great thing about this experience, is that we can all share bits of facts and knowledge about the wilderness with one another. Now, Maggie has read up, and she's become aware that it's often the case that female hyena in their first birthing process may die due to their very tight birth canal. You'll find that cubs may get lodged and stuck there, causing the female hyena to die. Obviously, in terms of how these animals have evolved, you would expect that they would have counteracted this birth defect that they have, which can cause adults to die. And I'm sure it's not very, very common, but it is a reality. Maggie was interested to know if we ever see female hyena that have died due to this, and I've never seen it once. If it was to happen, you would probably find that she would die within the burrow in a termite mound. They do climb into the burrow to give birth, and therefore, because they die in there, who knows if they ever even get pulled out by other clan members. I'm not too sure. So it's not a reality. The last hyena we did find dead on the property was a sub-adult hyena. By the time we found it, it was really decomposed and therefore difficult to read into what may have killed it or why it may have died. And that was probably about 2.5 months ago, and again, it was a sub-adult. It certainly wasn't an adult, just judging from its size. But thanks, Maggie, and again, please send through any bits of information you may research, so that we can share that amongst everyone, and also so that we can query and debate certain facts that you may read up on animals. Not everything you read is true, and possibly it may be that what you're reading is true, but only specific to one area. So you may read up on facts about hyena from a certain reserve, and those facts may differ to hyena in another part of Africa. So that's something very important to understand. We've got same species spread across very different habitats and climates throughout Africa, and you often find very different behavior amongst the same species in different areas. Well, without further ado, we can continue in search of something else. What a bonus that even though the hyena den site is active, there's still a strong chance you may see these hyena. And it shouldn't take Brent much longer. I know where he was when he got the reports, and probably in the next minute or two he'll be ready to show you what's going on at Buffelshoek Dam. Aha! Tim in Arkansas. Good morning. Tim is obviously interested to know how frequently we get flat tires, and he would like to know how many have we got in the last 6 months. And I know in the last week or so we've got 5 flat tires fixed. That's just in the last week. A lot depends on luck. I remember my first kind of month and a half here, I didn't get 1 flat tire. I was over kind of November, December. Then come January, within 1 week, I got 3 flat tires, but they weren't simply punctures. The side wall of the tire was completely sheared open by small stumps of hardwood, and therefore it caused us to replace the tires completely. It wasn't just about patching them or fixing them. We had to buy 3 brand new tires in just a week. And I'm sure some of the viewers remember that. I think I was working with Jason, aka Romeo, on camera, and we became a fairly proficient tire changing team over that week. So it does depend. But at the moment we seem to be going through a tricky patch with regards to flat tires. If fish eagles fly past with kills though every time I got a flat tire, I'd be happy to get one once a drive, that's for certain. And it'll be interesting to know what your thoughts are on what exactly had that fish eagle killed. I couldn't get a close enough look at it, and maybe you know or have some ideas as to whether it was a fish or a bird. And I'd really like your thoughts on that. Okay, well, to Caroline and Bob, thanks so much for your updates on what was seen on the Djuma waterhole live cam last night. Apparently at around 10 p.m. 2 cats were seen in and around the dam, and I'm guessing that they may have been lurking off in the periphery of the camera's capabilities, and therefore it made it difficult for you to establish whether it was lion or leopard. But that's great information, and thanks so much for sharing that with us. I certainly will head past the dam and see if we can find any tracks and get an idea of where they have gone. But before I do that, I am just going to check a few areas that will lead us back towards the dam. The reason for that is it would be useful for me to check the southern boundary as Brent has checked the northern boundary, and that will establish what may have entered our property and what may have left. And from there we work from the outside back in towards the center of the property, which is where Gowrie Dam is, where allegedly this report of 2 leopards or cats around 10 p.m. were lurking about. Okay, so it sounds like Brent is in the action, so we're going to cut over to him and we'll give you an update later.
Guys, we haven't even arrived at Buffelshoek Dam yet. Welcome back. And we've got this hyena running up and down the road, actively sniffing. I'm not sure whether trying to track the lions, but as you can see, quite highly mobile down the cut line. Oh, got a fright. I think it might have... Oh no, it's an impala that ran away. I think it thought it was a lion for a second. Had a slight panic. You can see it's been in the mud, probably around the dam. I don't know, it's very difficult. So the carcass was quite far from here, but it's definitely actively sniffing around for something. Who knows, maybe the Nkahuma's on such fine hunting form. They made another kill last night, but it did take these hyenas a few days to actually find that hippo carcass, which probably means that they were elsewhere, or maybe harassing a leopard in the west. Who knows? But we've lost sight of this hyena. I've already been to the hyena den to check for you guys and climb off into the distance. Carcass site. Barge here this morning. Carcass site. Barge here this morning. To the line. In the area, so they're quite hyped. And I mean, while we're driving down this road, the tracks have been sort of galloping, only touching the ground. The tracks did a bit of Ferraring safaring to get the hyenas at all dissipated, which can happen quite quickly. But the fact that the hyena is jogging, I mean, we were here yesterday afternoon. There were four. And now we have a tree. White fact. There's a hooded vulture, and you'll see there how much. There he is. How much smaller in body size he is, and how fine that beak is. So that beak's made for scraps, where there's the whiteback vulture's beak's made for sort of opening carcasses and wolfing down as much meat as possible. Just trying to listen, see if we can hear anything running around. We can't at the moment, but I'm going to go forward a little bit and see if we can see anything else. We'll go check where we had that piece of skin. Morning. How's everyone this morning? Sorry guys, I'm just chatting to one of the game drive vehicles quickly. Where's the meneer? Van Wyk?
Yeah, the minister come down here, from here and back again.
Okay. I saw one meneer on the cut line,
yeah,
but it ran into Buffelshoek.
Oh really?
Yeah.
Yeah, here there was three drinking, because there were like 5 down there and then they come down drinking, but 3 went over.
Okay. Cool, thanks very much, Billy.
You're welcome. Where
Have
do
a-
you think Bengala will be?
Hooded vulture right on the edge, probably just came down for a drink. Find and give us some clues. So there's the hippo. The commotion that's been going on. there's the hippo. The commotion that's been going on, saying, I'm quite happy I'm sitting in the water. We're going to go a quick look around where maybe there might be one hyena left, but as I said, I think they party a little bit late. Fortunate for the lions. Hi, Carol Patterson, welcome on the Sunrise Safari. Carol would like to know, do hyenas only use vocalizations when they're close to each other, or do they use it to communicate over long distances? Carol, both. They do communicate over long distances. For example, obviously we can never be 100% sure what happened here without being here. Basically, what happens with a clan of hyenas is sometimes they'll move off in groups, other times they'll go off singly, and they will move. One will head east, one will head west, and they will sort of, to cover the most ground possible. If they find something small, or if they find like a leopard leopard who's got a kill in a tree, they'll normally try to keep it a little bit quiet and not call in the other hyenas, because it's probably quite small and there's nothing there. Just to show you, this is where all the lions were lying last night, and under this bush here, and that's where that piece of skin was. I'm pretty sure one of the hyenas is made off with whatever's left of that now. But as I was saying, what would probably have happened last night is that a single hyena or two hyenas would have been walking, patrolling, looking for potential food, and they would have come across, probably smelt this, and smelt the lions in the presence, and they would have done. They're quite interesting in the way they call as well. They use the ground as an amplifier. So they probably would have called, and there's obviously different types of calls, different excitement. They have contact calls, whoop, and maybe another one answers or not, and those are just sort of letting everyone know where everyone is. But then there's a whole separate range of calls where they start going, and it's amazing to watch if you ever get the chance to. So they put their head right next to the ground, and they woo, and they use that ground as an amplifier to extend that sound over a greater area, and that's when they're quite excited, and there's different tones in that. So obviously we are not hyenas, we can't hear them all, but that definitely, you can definitely hear a bit of excitement in that. It's a different type of whoop, and that brings in the clan members at a rate of knots. And then the thing about hyenas is they use that excitement, it's incredible, to get themselves really, really going. So tails are up, and then that maniacal cackling, and they're basically, if you compare them to a sports team, it's like, come on guys, let's get it, come on, we can take these lions, like sort of trying to build the excitement levels enough till they actually feel that they are in a position, they're brave enough, they're excited enough that they can charge in and fight with the lions. So a fascinating thing to watch, and hopefully we'll get to see it at some point. But I'm guessing, obviously you can't be 100% sure, but I'm guessing that's what would have happened in this area. I think, unfortunately for the hyenas, they would have been probably quite disappointed to find a couple of bones and a scrap of skin, but that's the way the cookie crumbles. Sometimes they might find those lions very recently on that kill, and if the lion's really hungry, they'll defend it a lot more, but I mean, they're fat. There's a piece of skin that they were scrapping over yesterday. I doubt they would have put up much of a fight at all. They probably just moved off. So what we're going to do now is we're just going to skirt around this area. I don't think we're going to see much here. Just check very carefully for the lion tracks, and maybe get a direction and see which way they've been going. It's possible they might have crossed out of our area, but I didn't see any tracks. I was going quite quickly on the cut line, but also Billy said he's come from the east, he didn't see any tracks. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start checking back towards the dam and see if we find any tracks on that side. They are quite full, so it is possible that they haven't moved too far. Janine from Washington, welcome on the Sunrise Safari. Janine would like to know if I ever seen any brown hyenas near the area that we broadcast. Janine, strangely enough, I have, just to the north of us here in a place called the Timbavati, probably about 40 kilometers from where we are now. And I was very young, but I have seen them closer to the town Hoedspruit, which is about 60 km from here. I've actually got really nice photographs of brown hyenas on a den. Sorry guys, I'm just going to keep quiet. I've got to go through quite a steep dip here behind the dam, and that occasionally does lead to some signal loss, so I apologize ahead of time, but hopefully it'll be over quickly as soon as I'm out the other side. Okay, we're up and out, and no line tracks in the dip. I'm just going to check very carefully around here. See if there's anything here. Whoops, see, there's a hole there. So it looks like the lions were lucky and the vultures and hyenas were a bit late to the party. Just going to check very carefully around these roads, see if there are any tracks. It is a cool morning, so that also possibly means that the lions might move. Just excuse me a second, I need to listen to the radio.
Grant?
Morning, Andrew.
Hey, Grant, how are you doing?
Very well, and yourself?
I don't go to the community going into the yeah, the two are there, but the rest of you had a crossing to the face Shelly, so but they can't get all of him since they want to let him know that there's no sighting going on there anymore from arrows now.
Copy. Thanks, Andrew. I missed the species there.
Yeah, so maybe you can find him and let him know so the sighting is no longer happening on Shelly.
Copy. Confirm that's a message for Scott. Sorry guys, just trying to figure out here, new radios, and I'm a bit of a Luddite when it comes to technology, so digital, we're catching up with the rest of the world, but confuses the heck out of me. I like looking at lines and things. Andrew, I didn't copy your message. I copied that there was a sighting that's moved off a safari and down to Shelly's. I did not copy the species. Brandon from Alaska. Sure, and I complain about the cold. You must really have a lot of really cold from what I hear in Alaska. My grandfather went fishing there and he says it was freezing. But Brandon would like to know why we don't see serval and caracal on the drives. Are they nocturnal? Brandon, they are, and also with both those species, they live in very low densities. If you do manage to find an area where you see them quite often, then you can develop the place to see them. But serval prefer sort of big open grasslands, which we don't really have here. This is more bushveld. The caracal will be around, but again, also very low density, so quite difficult to see. I think in all the years I've been in and out of the Sabi Sands, I've seen 3 caracal, and yeah, serval I've seen a few more times in the south where there's bigger grasslands, but they're also nocturnal, but also very low densities that they occur at. Scott, come in. Scott, for your information, that leopard sighting has moved off Arathusa onto Shelley's. Just checking very carefully here for those lion tracks. It's more than likely that they might have gone sort of further west, but we want to make sure that they didn't come to the east here. No one's driven this road yet this morning, so just driving very slowly, looking for lion tracks. Rita from New Jersey, welcome on the Sunrise Safari. Rita would like to know that hippo that we just saw at Buffalo's Hook Dam, whether that's possibly the mother of that young hippo that the lions ate. Rita, it's almost impossible to say. I'm probably going to lean towards it's probably not. I didn't have a very close look, but it looked like it had a much bigger head than a female, so it is probably a young male who's using Buffalo's Hook Dam, because the other dams where the breeding rafts of hippo are very, and especially now the dry season, as the water drops, they're going to be very, very full, and the dominant male hippos in those bodies of water are not going to tolerate a young male. So I don't think it's the mother, Rita. Scott, confirm you copied that relay. Brian and I try to figure out where these lions have gone. We're going to cross over to Scotty and see what he's been up to, and hopefully he's got something really fantastic for you. We're just going to spend a little bit more time in this area trying to work out where the lions went, and if we can't, I've got a feeling that I haven't seen some leopard in a while and might want to go look for some leopard tracks. But over to Scotty, and we'll catch up with you a little later.
Welcome back, everyone. Apologies, I was just trying to reposition the vehicle there ever so slightly. So happy that you got to see some hyena, and timing is everything, and it sounds like you just caught those hyena in the nick of time. Now let's watch closely here, VM. There's some Egyptian geese that are having some territorial disputes here, and they've been providing us with a lot of action this morning. So there's another one that's about to fly in. Let's see what happens here, VM. There we go. Oh, so they're having a little bit of a dispute, and they are quite ferocious when it comes to defending their little patch of turf. And these are Egyptian geese, which is the most common goose that we see out here. We occasionally also get a bigger goose called a spur wing goose, And if you're very lucky, you can see one called an African pygmy goose. I've never seen one, but they are occasionally in the area, but very, very occasionally. We are sitting on the Arathusa Dam wall, and thanks very much to Ray in Colorado for providing us with an update from the Arathusa waterhole cam. And it's believed that there was 2 leopards mating exactly where we are sitting on the dam wall, but they left at around 6 a.m, which was around an hour and a half ago, and the guides from Arathusa have tracked them, and sadly both of those leopards have crossed out of Arathusa into a property where we cannot go. But that's not a problem, because there are other animals around, and we're certainly going to continue to search for whatever we can find. My plan is to head through a beautiful marula woodland that takes us to the Arathusa airstrip, which is the biggest, most open clearing that we have on either of the Djuma and Arathusa properties, and sometimes we get lucky and find zebra and wildebeest there. If no animals are there, just the open scenery is a pleasant change from what is quite a thick area that we work in here in the Sabi Sands. So it's an overcast day. What is going on here? What is in the water there? This looks like something quite interesting. I'm not sure what's happened here. Wow. That, folks, is a dead antelope. I'm guessing it's an impala, but I can't be sure. Now, it'll be really interesting to know if the Arathusa waterhole camera could have provided us with some information as to what exactly happened here. Impala and various other antelope will jump into waterholes like this when they are being chased by various animals, especially endurance predators like hyena and wild dog, which will chase their prey down often over several kilometers. It's not necessarily just a short dash. And in their desperation, the fleeing prey will often seek the safety and security of a waterhole, but then because they are so tired from a long run away from the predators, they can sometimes drown. And I'm guessing that's what's happened here. I think it's fair to say that the crocodiles in this dam, if there are any, are either fast asleep or there are none here. I'm leaning towards the fact that I don't think there's any crocodiles in this waterhole at the moment, because it's surprising that they wouldn't have either smelt or seen or heard the commotion. And it's often crocodiles that will come in and nab these fleeing prey, leaving the predators who have done all the hard work chasing them no food. Anyway, that's going to be very interesting to monitor. It's too far into the water for lion, leopard or hyena to venture in to pull it out. I would be highly, highly surprised if any of the apex predators in this area would travel that far in this water. And again, that's interesting because there's lion, for example, in areas like Botswana that are used to floods and river crossings and spending a lot of time in water, and those lions would be more prone to just wading in there, snatching this easy meal and continuing with their day. But lions and leopards of this area are not so accustomed with water, as well as the hyena and wild dog, and therefore it's going to be the terrapins and catfish that finish off this kill. And no larger predators, I don't think, unless there's a crocodile in this dam that simply hasn't caught wind of the fact that there's an easy meal right here. in Iowa is interested to know whether Egyptian geese will fight to the death for their territories. I'm guessing that it could well have happened, but it's not going to be common for that to happen, and I certainly haven't seen it. But with all animals that compete with one another, occasionally it does end in death. It's not commonplace. Even when it's leopards fighting or impala fighting, typically it's going to be, or dominance is going to be established fairly soon within a fight, and it's only in perfectly balanced fights where you'll find animals fighting to the death. Well, I don't know my way around Arethusa very well, so I know, but this was the right option. We haven't spent much time across here, sadly, and it's mainly due to radio problems. It's even this morning I came here knowing that I wouldn't be able to communicate with the guides, but taking a calculated gamble, in that report we got from Ray was too good to not follow up on. And we have yet to show you guys, since we've been filming the last 6 months here at Djuma, we've yet to show you guys leopards mating. We've shown you pairs of leopards thinking about mating or who have been mating, but the actual act we have not shared with you. So that's why I rushed over here, hoping that that would happen. I'm just going to pick up a piece of metal in the road there that we just drove over, you may have noticed. Not sure how that ended up here. Often the elephants will pick up random articles like this and carry them around with them. They also rip out water pipes in search of fresh water. So I'm guessing it was the elephants that were doing some rearranging of certain pieces of the Arethusa furniture. Interesting. Apparently, some of the viewers were tuned into the Arethusa waterhole cam, and now there's a whole debate on Twitter as to, did you actually see something jumping into the dam this morning? Some people say they did think that they saw something jump into the waterhole shortly after the leopards had left this morning, and that makes sense. As the leopards left, they may have spooked that impala, I think it was an impala, into the waterhole. Who knows? It's a possibility. The only way is to somehow go back and look at that footage. And to all of the other people that also sent through the updates on that mating pair of leopard, I believe it wasn't just Ray in Colorado, so thanks to all of you that sent that update through. And let's see what your updates is going to have an effect, or how it's going to have an effect on our morning. It's brought us into this area. I know Shadow and her cubs spend time in this area, and I have actually tracked her here before. There's lots of marula trees, which would make a perfect place for her to be relaxing and or hoist a kill. So please help and search with us for any action along this road. Well, folks, it sounds like Brent has a plan in place for all of you, so we're gonna cut over to him and we will see you a little bit later.
Hi everyone, welcome back. I just realized, Brian informed me that I forgot to actually introduce ourselves this morning. I was in such a rush to get out there and find animals. So I'm Brent, and I'm one of your safari guides for the live drive. And I've got Brian on camera with me today. So for those of you who were on the Sunset Safari yesterday, I stopped and asked you guys quite a difficult tree. And quite nice now, we found another one that is actually flowering. So very late for it to be flowering, but this is that long-tailed cassia. Or the other old name is a shambok pod. And I said it had very, very pretty yellow flowers. Obviously, not very many flowers, being very late in the season, but when it's in main flower, it's beautiful, and there's a lot of flowers on the tree. Just thought it'd be nice to follow up after talking about those flowers, just now actually being able to see them, which is something special. And I didn't think we were going to be able to see them at this time of the year, so it's quite nice to find a late blooming long-tailed cassia. So to keep you updated with what we've been up to, we decided to leave the lions for now. We can always go back in that area and follow the tracks. I just feel like I need some leopards in my life, so I've come to check one of the roads I've had a lot of success with in the past. It's quite a long road. It runs sort of north-south to the west of our eastern boundary, called Drakensberg, and it's called Drakensberg because you can see the Drakensberg mountains we were looking at last night from this road when it's clear. Obviously not this morning in this foggy, overcast morning. So historically I've had quite a lot of success with lots of different leopards, both Djuma and quarantine, young males, and Karula and Mvula. So just going along here slowly, looking for tracks, stopping every now and then to listen for alarm calls, looking at plants as well. So hopefully my leopard luck is on its way back. We've had lots of lion luck, but time for some leopard luck, and really, really hoping we find some tracks, or even better, we find a leopard on this road. But till then, I think we can have a little fun, play some games. I'm just trying to see what we should start on this morning. So how about it, guys? You let me know what type of questions you'd like me to ask. So you can ask, we can ask about animals, we can ask about birds, we can ask about plants and trees, or bugs. There are a few flowers around as well, so we could also ask about flowers. So you let me know, and you can do that via email. The email address is questions@wildearth.tv, or you can just use the hashtag Safari Live on Twitter. So let me know what we should have a quiz about. Should it be plants, animals, or insects? So you guys let me know. I look forward to hearing from you. In the meantime, I'll keep scouring the bush for any sign of actually anything right now. It is quite cool, and so a lot of the animals are going to be moving a little bit later in the morning.